Welcome back to the Fuel Your Legacy podcast. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a newer, stronger foundation essential in creating your meaningful legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. As much as you like this podcast, I'm certain that you're going to love the book that I just released on Amazon, Fuel Your Legacy, The 9 Pillars to Build a Meaningful Legacy. I wrote this to share with you the experiences that I had while I was identifying my identity, how I began to create my meaningful legacy, and how you can create yours. You're going to find this book on Kindle, Amazon, and as always on my website, samknickerbocker.com. Welcome back to the Fuel Your Legacy show. And today we have an incredible guest. I'm so grateful that they slid into my email as an opportunity to interview her, because over the last few years, there's been some major changes. Really, one thing that happened, I think, that created a disruption in the industry that was, I think, unprecedented in a bad way, but also in a good way. It created the disruption so that new players could come into the space. So we're going to be talking to Magda Schappert today, and she could talk on anything from like business development, Christianity, personal development, entrepreneurship, family, being a mom, all these things she could talk about. But what she's most passionate about is her and her husband. They just exited this massive business for 8 figures, totally successful. But Magda wanted to be in more control, or at least understanding of her own financial life, rather than just relying on her spouse, which happens too often in our country. One spouse says, I'm going to take control of the finances, and the other spouse doesn't know what's going on. So if that one spouse dies, the other spouse is just SOL, which is, in my opinion, totally unacceptable, because it's not needed, right? It's not like if it needed to be that way, one thing, but it doesn't need to be that way. And so what they created together is their next venture called Moola, and it's all about helping people and the next generation, empowering them with financial education and technology, right? We have technology. There should be no excuse you don't know where every penny of your money's going anymore. It's just unacceptable. It's too easy to know exactly where it is, to say, well, I just use my bank. Your bank does not do it. It just doesn't do it the way it needs to. And it doesn't help you with AI. It can track everything. Anyways, we're going to get into this because I'm so interested in how you've structured this and why you've structured it. And I have some of my own questions. But tell us a little bit about like how you met your husband, your family. How did you come to the realization that this is a problem that needed to be solved in the marketplace?
Yes, Sam. Well, thank you for having me on the show today. I am so excited to be sharing our story and hopefully helping somebody that was in the struggle bus like us before, and perhaps provide some great value. Wow. So Magda, she was a little girl with a big dream. And I was born and raised in a tiny island in Mallorca. It's an island between Italy and Spain. And I grew up with the mindset, my dad was just telling me, this island is too small for you. You need to leave, pursue the dreams and grow beyond this island. And I learned about this amazing country called America, United States of America. And when I started looking into it, I decided to come here to go to college, and I played tennis, so I got a scholarship. And then after 3 months in, I couldn't speak the language. I couldn't understand the monetary system. We're in euros, and then here's in dollars, and I just still don't get inches and pounds, but it's okay. But you adapt, right? It's all in the mindset. So I had a big dream. I decided to learn English, go through college, graduated my undergrad in business and communications. Then I got told that after my student visa expired, I needed to leave the country and go back to Spain. And I said, I got to do something over here. I don't want to leave I want to really, really know what the American dream is. And if it's out there, it's available. I want to know, I'm going to do everything I can to get that American dream and to experience it and live it. So I met my husband. Well, I'm jumping ahead. I graduated from college. I did my master's, extended my visa, graduated from my master's degree. Then I started my own business. I was in macular degeneration. I was working with retina specialists. Then when I had my business, I at a business conference in Tampa. We are in Florida, and I met my husband. He was doing a webinar about marketing. I'm sorry, not a webinar, an in-person at the time, a presentation about marketing. And I joined in so late during Q&A, and I had no clue what he was talking about, what he was doing, nothing. But then we connected at the end of his meeting, and that was, that the rest is history. So we started talking after that, and we got married a couple years after I transitioned out of my initial business, and I joined forces with him in his business that he started 16 years ago. It was ugly, Sam. We didn't had so much potential, but we were going through certain situations like every single entrepreneur, like every single small business and family-owned business. And we had to combine power and mindsets and decide, okay, what can we do to make it better? Because, Sam, making money, it's relatively easy. The tough part is keeping it and manage it and all this stuff. So we were making, his business was starting to make quite a bit of money, but it was just going out. And with several situations, we just decided to get together to kind of get more power through the, together in the business, go for the same mission, work together, and we kind of revamped the entire business. A couple months ago, we had the opportunity to experience the American dream and merge, transition out of the business, and we sold for a great a great amount that we could retire. But we believe that we are not placed on earth to take out space and consume food and all this stuff. We have a purpose. So now we are kind of reinventing ourselves. We are starting Mula. Mula, it's basically an investing platform for people who know nothing about investing. And how Mula started, Sam, is because I knew how to make money. Like so many talented people, moms and dads, and so many people are so talented. They make a great amount of money. However, they live paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because they don't know how to manage it, how to keep it. And financial education is a real thing. So the same situation was happening with me. So when I joined my husband in his business, we kind of both were bringing money in through our salaries. But honestly, I was relying on him. He had so much pressure on not only kind of having to lead the business, so growing the business so my salary could get paid too. And then he had the pressure of keeping it and growing it. And honestly, Sam, we didn't knew we had to invest. We could not afford real estate. We could not afford going to buy a passive investment and a rental apartment. We could not afford that. So my husband started thinking, okay, what are our options? So he started learning about the stock market, and we didn't have 5,000 or 10,000 extra to just give to a great financial advisor for them to, do what they know how to do and make money for us. And then, out of the profit, take a fee. We could not afford that. We could not afford to just we didn't have 5,000 or 10,000 just sitting around doing nothing and, giving a big percentage back to pay advisory fees. And so my husband had to learn to self-manage our finances. And one day we had a real conversation. We're talking, we wanted to have a baby Sophia, who now is born and she's 6 months. So we were having a serious conversation and a deep, these evenings that you're just sitting on the couch and you have such deep conversations. And he said, hey, babe, like, if something happens to you, I don't even know how to log in into your bank account, or I don't even know how to log in to access important family documents, or your Google, your G Suite that you have, your Google Drive that you have, all these documents. And I'm just like, whoa, what a great point. And we kept talking, and I told him, and what about the investments that you have been making? How, if something happens to you, I was so relying on him. He knows the logins, he knows where the money is, he knows how many shares we have where and how and why and all this stuff. I knew nothing, Sam. And we started talking, and I'm just like, okay, I need to learn. I cannot, it will be really foolish, because we live in a mortal body. We are not eternal. And I relied so much on him. And I'm just like, if something happens to you, I need to be able to not only access what we have, but also know how to manage it and steward it well and grow it for our family. And talk about, you don't want to have, such dependency on somebody at this level, because you never know. So he tried to teach me. He tried to, sit down with me for months and teach me how to read the market, how to invest, how to, look at this and that. And honestly, Sam, I had no interest. I was so bored. Like, I'm just like, I'm sorry. Yeah. I have 20, like everybody has 24 hours a day, right? And it's all about priorities. And I had no interest in learning the market. By the way, I had such a strong association to investing in the market. I had fear and uncertainty associated to the market, because I didn't know what I didn't know. And by the way, you are in with your money that you work so hard for, and your family needs. So it's a lot of pressure. My husband one day, because my husband is a pilot, and he has this brilliant kind of training that pilots go through, that they fly at 200 knots, and at the same time they fly, they are looking at screens, right, that feed them information, feed them data, speed, altitude, fuel consumption, you name it, and winds, and they have the training, and they have developed this master ability to read data, at the same time know what's going on in their environment, know, okay, where is traffic, where are we, there is a storm there is a tower, what's going on in the environment, and then make decisions based on what the data tells them and what the environment is doing. And he has such training on that it was a perfect representation of the stock market. And he needed to make decisions based on data and based on what's going on live in the environment, because the CEO of some company makes a post that is not very good, and the stock tanks or goes up, or right. So he had this training, and it applied so well into making investments. And I told him, okay, can you just put whatever is in your mind in an Excel file? So, I know how to, I just type some numbers that I don't know. You tell me what numbers I need to look at, what data kind of talks to me, and I will just type it in there, and that will help me guide to make decisions. And he said, okay, I will try to, and spend months into trying to put it into an algorithm. Then he tested the algorithm for several years, and he was tuning it and making it better and prettier and prettier and prettier. And this is how Mula started. Today, it's a platform for everybody, all these single moms, all these families, the dads that don't have anybody to rely on, that they are the ones that have the pressure on not only making the money, Sam, but also keeping it and managing it. And Mula was created because I had that need.
Yeah, I think that's so amazing, because you're not the only one with the need. I have this conversation. I'm the guy in this exchange. We were laughing earlier.
Yes.
Like, everybody needs a husband. I was like, I'd love one of those, except for I like my wife. But we all have these exchanges, and sometimes it's the woman who's the one that's very technologically and mathematically minded, and the man Like, I
Yes.
just make money and then I let that, like, everybody has it different in their relationship, but
Yes.
it's something we all need is to come to a understanding, not just of who's in charge of it, but we both need to understand what's happening and why it's happening.
Absolutely, especially because we are here to build a legacy. It's not about what you leave behind, but what you live for today.
Yeah.
Right? And you need to set up your family for success and yourself too. We are not brought in, to life to have a miserable life and have needs and diseases and not being able to afford stuff and all this stuff. We are supposed to live abundant.
Yeah, I agree. I want to go back to kind of the
Yes.
first thing that you said. By the way, Mallorca Islands are beautiful. If you haven't been, you need to go and just visit them because they are beautiful.
Yes.
You said you were a little girl with big dream, but then more important than that, I think that's important. We all need to recognize most of our children, they have big dreams. The question is, are you
Absolutely.
encouraging that dream or not? And something your dad said, or you said that your dad said that, hey, this island's too small for you. You need to leave. How many parents
Absolutely.
are trying to say, look, this world is too small for you? There's a book called The Dream Giver. I don't know if you've ever read it. It's
No.
a phenomenal book, but probably you'll just recognize your experience in it. The synopsis is there's a guy and he lives in the land of familiar. His name is Ordinary. And one day he gets this feather, which is the dream. But to do the feather, you have to go through this long journey and you have to cross this barren land of all of your border bullies are all the people who typically, it's your family, it's the people who are closest to you, who are telling you not to chase your dream. But you got to go slay your giants. You got to go do those things. And eventually, let's say you get to your dream. And this is kind of where, I'm not saying you guys got to your dream, but you get to your dream. And then if you stay in your dreamland long enough, then your dreamland becomes familiar. And now you're just another ordinary person in the land of familiar. Although the land of familiar is now 10 million or 8 figures rather than 6 figures, it's still just the land of familiar at that.
Yep.
So you have to chase that next.
This is so well said, Sam. I just want to share very quick. And it's so real what you just said. Because when we sold, we're refreshing the bank account so many times that we got locked out. Is it real? And it felt so great the moment that it happened. The next morning, Sam, we went, okay, now what?
Exactly.
It's like that's great. The bank account looks great, but now what? And is exactly what you just said. If you live in your past, you are going to get stagnant.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's a big part of why I started this show in the beginning, Magda, is because I want people to ask themselves better questions, which we'll get to a few questions that I wrote down that I think are great. But more importantly, I believe that the way to fuel, like the fuel for your legacy is probably the resources or the why before your legacy. But you can't live one way your whole life, live in scarcity, live in poverty, live in fear, live in anxiety your whole life. And then at the end of your life, like, man, I really hope somebody remembers me as this loving, caring, giving, charitable person.
Yes.
You have to live your legacy to leave a legacy. Otherwise, you're going to leave the legacy that you actually lived. And you can't do a deathbed legacy. That's not how it works. You actually are going to get remembered by the way you live your life. And so, yes, you came to that realization, what next, after your bank account had a lot of money in it. I believe that you probably came to that realization before it had a lot of money in it. And my evidence for that is in your story when you were saying, look, you guys had built a company to run. You had built a company that you were hustling every day in and out.
Yes.
And it was a good company. It was creating, generating income. It wasn't that you sucked at generating income. It's that you hadn't created a system that was sellable. You hadn't created something that was sellable yet. You had just created a great company. And you can create a great life. You can create a great thing. But if you don't create it in a system that moves and can be transferred, even you could create a life of great morals, integrity, dependency, reliability, all of that. But if you haven't figured out how to transfer your identity or the things that are important to you to your children, then it doesn't work. It doesn't matter. And so we got to get this system. Are you building something to run or are you building something to sell? Talk a little bit about that, because that changed before the bank account changed. The identity changed before the bank account changed.
Absolutely. Well, it's only mindset, Sam. We had big competitors in the industry that they created the industry. So it's really difficult to take territory on the giants, right? You gotta embrace technology and find your niche. What are you good at? What is the market? What is the need? Where is the next thing? So one thing that we had to do, first of all, is start thinking bigger. When my husband and I, honestly, Sam, there were many months that we could not meet payroll. We had to take out of our savings account to meet payroll. And we started kind of changing our mindset, thinking we have abundance. There is abundance waiting for us. We just need to do something different to access that. And it changes, the mindset. If you sit back and think, oh, this is not, this is awful. The market doesn't get it. My product, my employees, my packaging, if you externalize excuses, you will always find excuses. You will always find something else or somebody else to blame why your situation is the way it is. If you do not tolerate excuses in your life and start taking ownership and become the captain of your life and decide to make decisions before decisions are made for you, that's when the real change happens.
How long from when you guys had this realization, you realized that you needed to change your mindset? Because changing your mindset doesn't happen overnight either. It's a process because you have habitual programming. So from when you decided, because you had your company for 16 years, how many years in did you finally come to the realization you needed to change from that day to when you actually sold the company? How many years was that? 5 years. So really, and the reason I bring that up is so many people think, oh, well, they had this thing for 16 years. No, they had 11 years of a crappy company that they were struggling, hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck, struggling. They built what they built in 5 years. You can build an entirely different life in 5 years. I believe right now, you built that during a good period of time, but now today, there's more money out there than ever before. It's easier to get money than ever before because there's more of it. If it's not flowing into your bank account, it's because you haven't decided it needs to. And
absolutely,
that's something like in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years, maybe you don't have an 8-digit exit, but what if you had a 7-digit exit? What if you had a 6-digit exit of something? That's more than you were going to have if you don't try.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to emphasize in here is that do not believe everything you see on social media or everything people tells you. Everything on social media appears that overnight success, they don't have problems, they don't fight, they have the perfect husband or wife, and I was mistreated or I was betrayed and they didn't have that situation that I went through. No, everybody goes through things. Everybody has tribulation and tormenting in their life and situations to overcome, and are the overcomers who really kind of get ahead. And honestly, Sam, one thing that really changed my mindset, it was not learning this quote, but understanding it at a deeper level. And well, two things. One is it's in the moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. Think about it. Like if you decide to go cross a very busy road, chances are you will get hit. And then you will, live the rest of your life with at least a mark on your legs. Right? But then, like, what decisions are you making in your business today? Are you giving up today? Or are you deciding to say, you know what? I was mistreated. My husband did this. My wife said that. And I'm not a victim. I am an overcomer. I am going to be a light today instead of gossip. I'm not going to get caught up into the negativity and the limit of this world. I'm going to get caught up in what's ahead, and think, get out of your emotions, get out of your feelings, because your emotions and your feelings are going to lie to you.
Yeah, every time, or at least they're going to be telling you what has happened in the past rather than what's happening in the future. So it's not necessarily, I don't know if I would say it's a lie, because it actually is something you probably experienced, but it's something in the past and it doesn't serve you to live there, because the past doesn't have to be your future unless you choose to recreate it. And
absolutely.
That's your choice.
Yes.
So I want to go back to your dad saying this, hey, you need to get off this island. How did the rest of the environment, we're talking about the environment, you might have one positive indicator, one person that's believing in you, telling you to go make it. how does the rest of the people feel? How do your siblings feel? Not your wife, your mom, your grandparents. Like, how do they
Yes.
feel? Like, hey, why are you telling my daughter to leave me forever? Why are you telling her to move? Because we are moving.
Wow.
Why are you telling me to leave forever?
Yes, my grandfather, my dad's dad, he told my dad one day that what a terrible father you are to allow your daughter live to a completely different country. And imagine the pushback and how my dad's heart felt at that moment, knowing that, a daughter, I'm the only daughter. I have an older brother, but dads with daughters, they're soft,
Oh, I
like
know.
soft
I have
spot.
2 sons and a
And
daughter, and
yeah,
there's just they're not the same.
right.
They're not the same.
I remember my dad telling me one day, said the most difficult decision I had to make in my life was the day I allowed my daughter to leave the island, go to America, and because it's what I loved the most, but I knew it was the best thing for her. Because imagine the battle of the mind he had to go through, knowing that your daughter is in a completely different country. It's 24 hours travel. Like, if something happens, he doesn't speak the language. But I didn't know anybody here. I didn't have a bank account. I didn't have anything. And imagine as a dad, to let your daughter just go, and on top of that, you don't have the support system from your family, in that case my grandfather. It was just
Sure. Well, even then,
and
like
also
technology, there wasn't FaceTiming. There, maybe you
no,
had cell phones, but like not video calls. It was just like, I hope
we
you
used
answer.
Skype.
Yeah.
Yes, Skype, and that was it. And also, I was very, very blessed because my mom, well, my dad was always the big thinker, and my mom always trusted my dad. If she saw my dad in doubt or in fear, she will get in fear, right? But she saw my dad completely convinced that that was the way for me. And so my mom was fully behind and supportive and everything. And it's funny because now that I'm a mother, I have Sophia. I just can only imagine how many nights they were not sleeping, crying, not only missing me, but concerned and worried and all these things. But what a lesson, because they grew so much. We all grew so much. You
Mhm.
start valuing things you don't value when you live together.
Yeah.
And my brother, I have an older brother, and he was happy, but I believe it was challenging for him to see the sister go, and he stayed behind, right? They offered him the opportunity to leave as well, but he decided to stay. And at the moment, he didn't want to leave, but now long term, I know he wished he would have
Sure. Well,
decided to go.
hindsight's always, well, I shouldn't say always, but I actually do a whole speech on this. Hindsight's not always 2020 because most people are too scared to look in the past to learn from it. So they just
Yes.
like, oh, that sucked. Next year we're going to do better, but they don't learn and change and adjust. And so they don't actually do any
Yes.
better. They just keep repeating the same stupid mistakes over and over and over.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I think that now that's the story of most people's success. You're hated, you're ridiculed all the way up. But then once you get to the top, they're saying, hey, I always knew you could do it. I'm so proud of you. And it's like, wait a second,
Yeah.
acknowledge that you didn't believe in me just once, like just acknowledge it, because there's a reality that once you acknowledge that you didn't believe in me and now you can believe in me. The reason I like people to acknowledge it is not so that I can be vindicated that I'm right, but more so that they can go through the mental process that some of their belief systems are not accurate. What are you saying no to today that in 5 years, 10 years could be different if you made something different? It's not about the past. We need to look at the past, this 2020 thing. We need to look at the past to understand that there was a discrepancy in what I thought. I thought one thing and I got a different outcome. If we don't ever recognize that and we were like, oh, I always knew. No, you didn't. There was a time when you didn't, and now you do. So what are you unsure of today that in the future could be the right decision? And how do we help you take that next step to believe more, have confidence, clarity, commitment, passion for what you actually, your dream, the little girl with the big dream. There's still a little girl or a little boy with the big dream inside of each of us that we haven't actualized yet. And the question is,
Yes,
why not?
absolutely, Sam. And I want to emphasize something. The little girl or the little boy, it has nothing to do with your age.
Exactly.
You don't have to be a teenager. You don't have to be in your 20s. Because you are in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, or 60s, it's not too late. It's not too late at all to pursue your dreams. The little kid inside of you is very much alive. Unleash the baby, unleash the kid inside of you, the passion, the joyful, the get rid of all this heaviness of the world, the pressure, the stress, and let this child inside of you that had the dream of opening a coffee shop, becoming a, I don't know, painter, becoming a pilot, becoming a banker, go to college, whatever it is. I believe this new year, it's the perfect year, the right time to unleash this kid inside of you that has big dreams. And because the people that you grew up with or you are currently surrounded with, they don't pursue their dreams, it doesn't mean that you cannot pursue yours.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and I was a very weird kid. The kids were making fun of me. I was bullied. I remember I was I wasn't the popular kid at the school at all. I always wanted to hang out with my parents because I was, certain things, and I was never a drinker. When we went to high school, all my friends started drinking and smoking and being cool, and I'm just like, I don't like any of this, and it's not for me. So I wasn't fitting in. So if you are finding yourself today in an environment that you know is not going to take you to the next level where you know you belong, where you know your inner child needs to be unleashed, just do a check in your environment and don't be afraid of saying, I love you, thank you, but
Yeah,
you need to move on.
we're going to separate.
There is nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, and I think that this is where I want to go next. This is going to be a quick section. Then I want to dig into more of what Mula is and what it
Yes.
isn't. But you met your husband at a business conference. A lot of people refuse
Yes.
to go to these personal development, career development, business conferences because they think, oh, that's for the whacks, that's for the hacks, that's for just like, no, you could have a life-changing experience when you just show up, right? Showing up is half the game. Even showing up late,
Yes.
in Magda's case, even showing up late is worth showing up. You might get the
Yes.
tail end of the presentation and you might get the whole presentation, whatever. But I want to know, because you said that he was doing a presentation about marketing.
Yes.
Yeah. You were in business development, working in kind of retina specialist.
Yes.
So did he sell you on getting married to him, or did you sell him on getting married to you? Who marketed better? Who marketed better here?
You know what's funny? We met at the conference and the same. So we met around, it was the morning, around 11 at 2 p.m. I had an email from him. Hey, do you want to get dinner tonight?
I see. Okay.
And say, Sam, I did not answer. He still, we still laugh about it because I didn't answer his email. I was a strictly business. I waited 24 hours. And then for 3 months, I was a strict business.
She was like,
And
I see
then
more than business here.
yeah, and then he always says, he was persistent. He didn't give up.
That's good, man. Hey, most of the time you get the close on multiple follow-ups, so you got to keep going.
Right? Isn't that the
the
truth?
overcomers, as you say, right? He's an overcomer. I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's get into the Moola. So I mentioned this kind of in my intro. There was a service. Now, I don't think it did exactly what your service does, from my understanding of what you do, but there was a service that really helped people manage their money. It was called Mint. Mint was this phenomenal tool that allowed people to get all their accounts, bring it into one spot, have a good idea of their transactions, everything. All the things. It was the best service out there, and they were offering it for free for most of the time. It was just a loss leader, I guess. I don't know why they offered it for free for so long, but then they sold out. They sold out to Intuit, and Intuit was like, oh, we're just going to smush this up with Credit Karma because we want to sell more credit cards. That's my opinion. I shouldn't say that I know that for sure. That may not have been but it's kind of what it seems like. They created their AI bot to basically let you know, hey, if you spend on this credit card, you're going to get more rewards. So they have some positive things, but mostly It was about selling debt, it seems, though. They lost a lot of the actual functionality that helped somebody understand where they were at financially on a day-to-day basis. And as a result of that kind of leaving the marketplace, and that left the marketplace right as AI and chat GPT had just been released. And so everybody's able to start creating their own AI way to manage money, which made it easier. It also made it kind of worse in that everything was a startup. Everything was brand new. There was nothing that was tested, had been developed, and was really successful at this job. And then on top of that, everybody decides they want to charge for it. It's like, man, I wish Intuit would have just charged for Mint. People would have paid for Mint, but then they tried to smush it into this other product that they lost so many people. And there's a lot of people that feel homeless when it comes to managing their money, because I've been on Mint for almost 10 years before it was sold out to the first companies that they sold out to. So I'd been there for so long that was my system. I still have spreadsheets because I'm a nerd, and because I'm aware that people, if they own your data, they can not own your data anymore, and then you just don't have it. So because I was aware that could happen, I always backed up my data. But there's a lot of people who didn't. They lost this resource, and they're stuck kind of homeless trying to manage their money in a time when it should be easier to manage your money than ever before. And so talk to us a little bit about, I don't know if you were a part of that or you saw that disruption happen, but where does Moola fit in the concept of just like day-to-day tracking of your finances on top of the analytical side to help you actually do something productive with the money that you hopefully are saving?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the first thing is that we teach financial education. You need to be informed of why, how, and everything. I'm not familiar if Mint in that
teach a lot of financial education. It was primarily a budget tracking tool. That was the first thing, and then it morphed into, there was a few, like an educational tab that would teach you about a home loan, it would teach you about a car loan, teach you roughly about generic investment knowledge as far as like 401k or an IRA. What are these things? How do they operate? So there was a basic level, but it wasn't a requirement to use the app, and it wasn't really integrated. And not that I would not that I would have trusted it to be an integrated thing. Like, I think there's still a lot of value in having robots. I don't think are going to be able to replace human emotion and human experiences. They may be able to tell you what the best thing to do is, but convincing a human to do the best thing, I think, is still going to be a human's job. Maybe we'll get to the point where robots can actually convince a human to listen to it, but I don't know that the human psyche, at least right now, is at the point where they're going to listen to this robot and say, oh, I should put aside my own instinct. Even though my own instinct is wrong, I should put aside my own instinct for this computer's instinct that's talking to me like a human, but I know is a computer. So I don't know that we're there yet. We may be, but I'm just curious how that fits into your...
Absolutely. One thing I want to emphasize here is that with Mula, we are teaching about playing the game. Everybody's thrown into the game of this world is called money.
Absolutely.
And you are thrown in this game, inside, to play this game. You either like it or dislike it. If you have fear or you feel bold about it, or you know how to play the rules or not play the rules, you are being thrown into this game. You either learn to play the game or you will be played.
Well, and you have first-hand experience of going to somewhere that you don't know the language, but you're forced to use English because that's what anybody else speaks. And that's the same thing with money. Everybody's forced into money, but they have no idea what the words mean. And so they don't.
Absolutely. And we teach people the difference between, like, the basics. Everybody knows about the credit score, but do they know what actually triggers your score? What's good, what's bad, what you need to do, when it's a data. Yes, so we teach them valuable tools that they can use about, good debt versus bad debt, credit score, everything, absolutely everything. How how money works, how you go to the bank and open a bank account, and you think that your $5,000 are sitting in the bank. They are not. The bank is using your money, and actually somebody else has your money, and the bank is making money out of your money. Like, these things that the industry has kept so tight, and they actually use such complex words to make sure they are needed. These are great financial advisors, great people, money managers, all this stuff. Absolutely, I have nothing against them. But I believe there is a market for them.
Sure.
And honestly, my husband and I did not have the ability or did not have the opportunity to grab 10,000 or 50,000. Some people, if you go to some of the financial firms, if you don't have 50 or
Usually the
100,000 ready to
minimum most
give
of
them,
the time is like 300,000. You might be able to get into
yes,
like an LPL or a credit union or something for 100, but most of them, it's like Goldman Sachs is almost 15 million minimum. It's
yes,
crazy
uh-huh,
what these minimums are just to get not even just have them manage your money, which is its own thing, right? Having them manage your
yes,
money, but to get access to somebody who has the information and education. Like I've
mm-mm.
partnered with a firm called Wealth Wave. I don't know if you've heard of Wealth Wave before, but it's worth looking up. But they haven't really created apps like you are, and this is where I think I was excited about this conversation because that firm really focuses on teaching people how money works, and they've written books about it: how money works, stop being a sucker; how money works for women, take control or lose it; change your
Yes,
literacy, change your life. They've created online websites, they've been on TV. The whole focus is how do we bring Wall Street to Main Street and give everybody access to financial education at a level that everybody needs it, and then
absolutely.
create, I mean, the company still does it more in a direct human to human contact model, where yours is an app, and I think there's value in both. But that's where I'm just excited about your app, honestly.
Yes, yes. So basically, what we are doing is simplifying, taking the mystery and the fear out of the entire process. Again, it was built not by big financial bankers and all these stuff that know exactly what they are talking about. It was built for a person, me in this case, that I knew nothing about finances. I knew nothing about these big words and these big things. I had such fear and fear of the unknown. So also I wanted something that will provide the day-to-day people security and safety, in a sense that I'm sorry, but I want to know where my money is. If you go today, you said it very well, you kept backups, you had your own files, your own data of where everything is, because if they close, what? I have my dad, they are still in Spain, and they use, when they want to come visit, he uses Wise, because it's a company that you can transfer currencies, and he grabs maybe 1,000 euros and transfers it here, so he have dollars for
Right.
their trip. And my dad will never put more $1,000 into Wise, because he says, if my app doesn't log in, I don't even know who to call, where
Right.
to go, and he lost his money. So this is exactly the opposite of what we want to do with Mula. We are providing like full access to everything. There is a phone, email. You do when you do you know exactly where your money is, and every time you will get, when you get into the trading and do investments through Mula, you will get information of what trading did you do, what company, where to go to find it. Because again, Sam, if something will have happened to my husband
Right.
2 years ago, and he had, I don't know, Apple stock or whatever stock he had, I had no idea where to go. I had no idea who to call and how to get our money out.
Is it built
And
on the blockchain? So it's more like not in the crypto coin perspective, but crypto's built on blockchain as well. So it's multiple
we
verifiable backgrounds. So the data is not really going to
ab-
get lost per se.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. That is basically what we want to do. Our goal is to help people and empower families and empower the moms and the dads and the young entrepreneurs, that they know that they are going to be, great at making money, but they cannot have, you know, 5,000, 10,000, or $500 in the bank,
Right.
because they need to start investing, because in 2 years they are going to need to buy a new machine or a new device that will cost them 100 grand.
Right.
And in the bank, it loses value every day.
Every day. What a blessing.
Yes.
Well, hey, we are out of time. This has been absolutely just a pleasurable conversation. I've loved every part of it. And congratulations on Sophia. That's wonderful. I love
Thank
having
you.
babies. I think they're the most incredible things, watching children grow up. I'm not looking forward to the day that your dad had when he said, "Hey, maybe you should go somewhere else."
Right.
I think that's gonna be hard for me, but it'll be good. It'll be good, and it'll be hard for me. But
Yes.
I just want to say thank you so much for the work that you and your husband are doing. I really think that it's needed, and it's such a wonderful time in history where all of these technologies, we're at the turning of a completely different world. Like, this is a transitional 2 or 3 years where our world will look different in the next 10 than it's looked for the last 60. There's not been a ton of change. The internet was the last sort of change, but the internet didn't change everything nearly as much as I believe. Like, I think the change that happened when the first engine and cars were created, that's the type of change that's going to happen with AI and the convergence of things. It's going to be bigger than just a new way of processing. It's going to be a completely new industry. It's going to bring both the world closer together, and if we're not careful, it'll help people feel more separated from each other. And so I think that building a community, building a strong sense of reality, and being willing to share your dreams and be an overcomer and put yourself out there, it's how we win. So thank you so much. If somebody wanted to learn more about Mula, I know it just launched this week, where would they go to access the app or the website, or where are you congregating people?
Absolutely. Mula Copilot. We are on every single platform, social media platform, and we also have our website, Moola, and you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. And also we are having so many free webinars to empower and teach people about financial literacy and education and everything. So any questions you may have, please, join in any of our free live webinars and ask the question. We'll be more than happy, my husband and I, to answer, and at the best of our ability. And we would love to help families, to give them the financial education and help them pursue their dreams and what's available for them.
Awesome. Yeah, I absolutely love it. I'm so excited for how this is going to change the industry. And I just am excited, not just this is going to be probably in the next few years, but you guys are so young right now that just the way your mind works and the ways you're going to be able to benefit society long term, you guys are unstoppable. And I'm so grateful for you choosing to be on the Fuel Your Legacy show and have this impact. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks for joining us. If what you heard today resonates with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me. And if you do give me a shout out, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Thanks to all of those who've left a review. It helps spread the message of what it takes to build a legacy that lasts. And we'll catch you next time on Fuel Your Legacy.